morally it's wrong to be taxing people on their homes, you know, and it allows people to the taxing authorities to spend it with no recourse. You have no recourse to it. So again, the affordability will come by eliminating property taxes off their home. That will help people get into homes more than anything. And competition, competition makes for more affordable things.
Thank you, Mr. Gross. Ms. Hammond.
Governor Abbott gave $5 million to our local housing authority to reduce our taxes. And what did they do? They lowered the rate that they charge us, but they increased our property valuation. Again, and the same thing with Mr. Groves. This is damaging to our homes and our communities, especially to our senior citizens who lived on a fixed income. We have to stop the bleeding. We have to get hold of the property appraisals. We have to get hold of the property valuations and help our constituents to bring back those appraisals down so that people can afford it. I was talking to a young block walker who was with me, and she said, I can't afford to buy a home. I can't afford to pay for a mortgage, and the insurance and the taxes is even higher than the mortgage that I applied for. She said, I want to get a home. Do what you need to do when you get into the state of Texas to help people like me, young people like me, get into a home. And we need to start looking at where we're spending the money. I'm going to go back again to budgets. They're extremely important. Ours are overinflated and being spent uselessly and mindlessly. And we need to start getting better control of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you. If I could just add one last point on that last question regarding the flooding. Where we are in the world is unique. We're in a floodplain because of the river. Obviously, it's just a few miles south of us. So this creates not only a local issue or a statewide issue, but a federal issue. And the Army Corps of Engineers, they've done their studies. So this is beyond Texas. So I don't want to give the impression that I'm just going to be asking for this pile of cash from the state to fix our flooding problems. It's a larger issue that the federal government should be involved in as well. That's negotiating, that's getting into these bills, and you need somebody to advocate for that sort of thing. I know the governor has done that very well in this last big, beautiful bill. I just wanted to finish up on that point. Regarding this issue of home affordability, it's terrible, it's out of control. This comes back to, I would call him the epitome, the face of the problem in the state of Texas. His name is Sebi Haddad. He is a perfect example of runaway spending. He is the perfect example throughout the state. Attorney General Paxton has subpoenaed the records of the city of McAllen to scrutinize, to audit, to go through, with the potential of criminal liability of the out-of-control spending, not just McAllen, throughout every city of the state. But this is ground zero for it. And you need somebody that's going to be able to take that fight to him. He's a very well-funded, has oligarchs behind him. You need the right person to do it. Thank you.
Moving on to the next question, Ms. Hammond, this one will be for you. How do you balance economic development with environmental protection in the Rio Grande Valley, particularly regarding water resources and land use?
Water is a major issue. Our Congresswoman, and it's a federal issue, our Congresswoman went to fight to get us water. And she did a really good job, and they're putting that into a new bill that she's putting into effect as well in regards to that water issue. Locally, the only thing that we can do is support Abbott and making sure that we're conserving water and that we're building desanitization locations, and that these new AI data centers that are coming in, that they don't get use of our resourceful water or the electricity, that we're protecting our own power grid. So we have to make sure that when we're accepting businesses and industries to come in, that we're also protecting the needs of our community, which is the water and the electrical power grid. Thank you.
Mr. Sanchez.
Yeah, so regarding Congresswoman De La Cruz, she didn't get water. It was President Trump, let's be clear. There are a lot of things that I agree with that red cap, and his tariff policy is one of them. That's at the top of my list. A firm stance on a 1944 water treaty that Mexico has slapped the United States, specifically South Texas. They have slapped us in the face for generations. We're losing many, many acre feet of water, affecting our farmers and affecting us locally. That water, it comes through our pipes in every one of our houses. And so I'm thankful to President Trump for doing that. It was a tariff policy that he imposed on the President of Mexico and the country of Mexico, and they folded immediately because that's going to cripple their economy. You need a firm stance like that. Also to point out, this credit of water, it rests solely on the shoulders of President Trump. You need somebody that's going to speak truth to these matters, and I'm happy to do that going forward. But regarding what you mentioned, ma'am, my biology background, I'm proud that I've studied environmental impacts. I'm proud that I've studied the damage that can be done to water supplies and to our land. There must be a balance with that without getting or interfering with our economy, because the builders that I talk to and everybody in the community wants red tape and they want bureaucracy out of the way. So that's something that pendulum can swing too far. I would be there to make sure that business runs smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gross.
Yes, the water issue is a very important issue. I do agree that getting the water from Mexico is a great solution for us, and I believe the Secretary of Agriculture just, doubly secured that water. We have to be careful, because I know that they've been talking about doing desalination, and that's very expensive. I think that the city is spending like $21 million to do that per well. Alamo Water District is doing it for like around 11 million. That's a huge cost difference. The most economical way for us is going to be with water from the river. And if Mexico does honor its obligations, that's going to be wonderful for us. And so that's, we need to enforce that. And we need to make sure that we're not getting hosed on this, because the city of McAllen generates a lot of money from our water supply, the water we get. And that really is affecting people. Our water bills have gone up by 30%. And, that's hurting people. Again, we're going to affordability. When your water bill goes up 30%, that's terrible.
Thank you, Mr. Groves. We're moving on to our next section of questions. This one is focusing on border immigration and public safety. Mr. Sanchez, we'll start with you for this one. Do you believe that Texas state funds should be used for border operations like Operation Lone Star? Why or why not? And how does that spending affect District 41 priorities?
Yes, I do. And we all knew we had a wall of people. It was called the Department of Public Safety. We saw those cars down here for those years. They've dialed that back, but thank God that happened. That was in response to the complete lack of effort from the Biden administration. Kamala Harris, as the border czar, was a complete disaster. It's safe to say that. I think we all agree of how much of a disaster that was. It's been shut down. Thankfully, with President Trump coming in, has helped on the border and nearly eliminated crossings. But it took Governor Abbott in these years, my cousin with DPS included. We had a wall of humans that were here. Every median between here and Rio Grande City, between here as I would drive to Laredo for federal court, between here and Brownsville, we saw them. So I was thankful for that. More importantly, the governor spoke recently that money he got that back. We got that money back. We spent $12 billion with a B, $12 billion on the border surge. And Governor Abbott is a very savvy negotiator. That was a reimbursement that we received from the big, beautiful bill that just recently passed. A bill that had so much to do with economic development and so much to do with international matters. Within that bill was our reimbursement for what we had to do because of President Biden's disaster. Yes, I would support that. I'm happy to announce that the men and women of the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Department have endorsed me. The union, law enforcement is in my background. Thank you.
Mr. Groves.
Yes, so I'm a strong believer in strong borders. And I would just like to take a moment to thank ICE. Our leaders need to support law enforcement. ICE is doing their job. We need to stand behind them. And leaders need to tell people, don't disrespect our law enforcement. Respect them and don't resist arrest. If you attack them, you could get killed, and you put that shame on them as well. So I just want to take a moment to say we need to support our Border Patrol and our ICE. And yes, I mean, there was a time when Texas had to do it because under the Biden administration, the borders were wide open. But that was a federal, respecting our borders as a federal matter. And I'm glad that Texas is suing to get the money back that we had to spend on Lone Star, because that was a federal responsibility. And now that we're not doing that, it will save our state money. But it was needed at the time. But I'm for strong borders. So many of the problems we have are because of illegal immigration into this country. I'm a strong believer in intelligent, legal immigration.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond.
So in my contract with the Rio Grande Valley, I talk about my conservative commitment to secure the border, stop fentanyl, and drug trafficking. I state what I will do. I will vote yes on border security measures aimed at cartels, trafficking, and fentanyl, and on coordination that supports local law enforcement. Those bills will be voted yes by me. I will vote no on policies that weaken enforcement or create incentives for illegal crossings. For backing the badge, I will vote yes on resources and legal protections for our law enforcement within the law and department policy. I will vote yes on tougher consequences for repeat violent offenders, and no on policies that undermine policing or reducing accountability for serious crimes. Governor Abbott just did some bail reform in 2025 that is being put into law. In Austin, a friend of mine was shot, his brother was shot and killed. And it was recorded on video. They knew who shot and killed the guy. He's still out. It's been a year and a half, and he's still roaming the streets waiting to have his day in court. That kind of stuff has to stop. If we want to secure the border and back our police, we need to start putting the criminals behind bars and get rid of these repeat offenders. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. For this next question, we'll start with Mr. Gross. How would you work with federal, state, and local agencies to ensure that border communities are supported rather than politicized?
So that's a good question. You know, we have to promote our area for what it is. You know, this is a great area. We have ports. We have a workforce, a lot that I would say people that like to work. And we do have a poverty problem and an educational problem because of the illegal immigration we've had in the past. So again, I think focusing on education to find jobs for the skills that are needed. I would say increasing healthcare. These are things where the government agencies or the state, the local, and the federal can come together with programs like that, like promoting our area and I would say the area needs to promote itself as one area. Don't have city versus city. Do it together, promoting this whole area, and that's my answer.
Ms. Hammond.
We need to educate the people about what we have down here in the valley, that we are a beautiful community. I serve on the board for Leadership Women, and what we do is we go to 3 different cities all across the state of Texas, and we educate the people, the women that are joining this program, to learn about the city, learn about its growth, learn about development. And by doing this, we learn about the state of Texas and all the different programs that they have, the nonprofits that they have, and the issues that Texas is addressing. It's a 43-year-old organization. They had not been back to the valley since 2008, and they had only been to Brownsville in 2008. And when I asked them, why are you not coming down to the Rio Grande Valley? And they said, oh, we're not really sure what's going down there. So my mission and goal was to bring that leadership group down to the valley. And we succeeded in doing that in September of 2025, taking them to the McAllen IMAS, taking them to the Stained Glass Museum, taking them to Harlingen about the water development and all the things that are happening in Harlingen, and taking them to the port in Brownsville. Over half of the women, you're talking about 85 women in the room, more than half of the women had never been to the valley and and had said that their husbands didn't even want them to come down to the valley because they were so afraid of what was happening in our region. We have to educate and go through programs, associate ourselves through them, and then bring them down to the valley to show how wonderful and how great we are and all the development that we have going on. And stop talking about us needing to secure the border because the borders are secure already, and now all we have to do is bring the people down to enjoy the community of the Rio Grande Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. Mr. Sanchez.
Please repeat.
Yes, absolutely. So the question is, how would you work with federal, state, and local agencies to ensure that border communities are supported rather than politicized?
I mean, this is my career, and it's shocking to hear someone say that the border is already secure. This is a never-ending process. That's like saying that we have solved the drug crisis. This is a never-ending crisis. There are things that get better, but we must be vigilant. You need somebody that understands federal. This is DEA. This is the Border Patrol. The wives of the Border Patrol were at an event of mine just recently, a group of wives. They have endorsed me, and this is something I take so much pride in. So that at the state level, the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Department, at the local level, the city police officers that are here, as well as the Sheriff's Department. It's such a mix. I deal with this at the federal court. This is the black building. I'm there on a very regular basis. Every week I'm there. At the state courthouse, it's an ongoing, monstrous battle that we deal with here on the border. And if I could go back to address the previous question, what can the state do to deal with federal immigration problems? One is our presence. Police presence is huge. I commented to Dr. Solis. I thanked the men and women of law enforcement here this evening to provide this security for us. I recognize the strength that they exhibited for us, and I'm cognizant of these things. So just vigilance of that, and their presence, and obviously funding, that we have the best equipment for the best of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. We're moving on to our next section of questions. This next one is focusing on representation and accountability. So, Ms. Hammond, we'll start with you for this one. What is one issue where you're willing to break with your party if it's in the best interest of District 41 residents?
Again, in the contract, I talk about what I will vote for yes on and what I will vote no on. I will not be breaking with the party when it comes to conservative values, bringing God into our place, and doing what is right for our community. The only thing that I will support is it for the benefit of the community and hearing the people in our community, what is good for them. We know we need some immigration abilities. The Braceros Act, I think was what they called it the other day, that what was put into place before, how you would be able to hire people legally, put them into your workforce. That is something that is extremely necessary right now. Our community is bleeding. That's one thing that I will definitely support is immigration reform so that we can get our workforce back strong and help our community and our leaders, and especially those in the construction business. Thank you.
Mr. Sanchez.
Yeah, so it's shocking to hear, and I'm going to have to bring up previous statements of Ms. Hammond regarding that she will not break from party with over conservative principles, the platform of the party, the ethos of the Republicans at the State House and here locally, that she will not break with those conservative principles. She has proposed to expand abortion in the state of Texas. So this is a Democrat issue. This is not a conservative or not a Christian issue. She has proposed to limit guns to two guns for most people. 2 guns for most people. She has proposed to raise the age limit to 25. She has proposed to take away AR-15s. That means guns would be taken away from me with those propositions. That means guns would be taken away from my sons. That means that guns would be taken away from my cousins. We fail all of these, what she is imposing. So it's shocking to hear that. How would I break with my party? I go even further on this issue of life. The party at the State House has adopted, obviously, the ban of abortion, with the exception of that the mother's life is at risk. I have come forward and stated I'm an abolitionist. I would propose legislation to completely abolish, and I've given my word that I would fight to the gates of hell for the unborn child. That's how I would break. Thank you.
Ms. Hammond, you were referenced. I'll give you a minute for a rebuttal.
Thank you. First of all, I'm not here for courtroom What I said in that video was the same thing President Trump said. That in my viewpoint for abortion, it is for a woman's health and cases of rape and incest. I didn't say I was going to propose a new bill. I just gave my opinion in a video. Second thing I said also in that video was that I'm a gun owner and that we support guns, that we are pro-gun, and we were talking about shooting at a school. So listen to the full clip. Don't take sound bites as theatrics in a courtroom to sway your vote. Thank you.
Follow up, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you. Yeah, Kamala Harris said the same thing. I'm a gun owner, but she wants to take your guns. This is the way the discussion usually starts. Or with the well-intended discussion of, I want to prevent the mass shooting, or I want to prevent the next school shooting, only to limit us, legal gun owners, law-abiding citizens, only to limit our Second Amendment rights. So I'm happy to have the full link there, unedited, there in its full glory for everybody to see. It's completely opposite. I can't imagine any Republican that would take on these positions.
Mr. Gross, we're going to go ahead and move on.
So I think I've made it clear tonight, I'm the only Republican who's voted in Republican primaries. I've had a long history with the Republican Party. I will not break with my party. I want to make that very clear. If anything, I will work with my party for more conservative values. I'm a Republican through and through. There's no issue here I'm going to break with my party. I will always encourage my party to be more Republican, because Republicans have the best values for government in this country. And being a MAGA Republican who loves our country, who loves the people, and who wants to fight for the people, I will try and make things more Republican when I can. I will never break from my party.
Thank you. Moving on to this next question is a pretty long one. Mr. Sanchez, we'll start with you. So in a representative democracy, the most basic element is that people get to vote for their elected officials. In Texas and many other states, however, citizens do not have much control of the agenda. We do have referendums for proposed states' constitutional amendments, but we do not have initiative petitions, recall elections, or referendums to remove a piece of legislation. Do you support or oppose more citizen control of the agenda?
Yeah, so taxpayer protectionism is a term that I've adopted. I speak to this. Similar to consumer protectionism at the national level, taxpayer protectionism is a complete reworking of how the state business is run. You check off a number of important matters there. Referendums need to go across to the individual communities of each school district, of each city, of each county. It should pass along the authority, an auditing process to the people. And obviously, I give an example of, at the school level, that we're gonna raise $100 million, for example, to build a new football stadium for the city of McAllen. And that it's gonna, and that should go to, that vote should go to the people. That should go to the people. I think that's an obvious example. I would propose to lower that threshold to $5 million. Any large ticket item over $5 million must be approved by the people. Thumbs up or thumbs down, it gives the authority back. It's a complete reworking. And imagine how things would be tightened automatically. Imagine the Sebi Haddads of the world, how they would rethink if they're facing a recall election, or if they're facing, you need permission from the community to pass that budget. They will automatically tighten the belt. So I absolutely push across referendums, more and more, vote for the people. Thank you.
Mr. Gross.
Yes, I think I made it clear. I'm a MAGA Republican. I'm here to serve the people. Having more referendums, having the people involved in the process, I'm all for it. And so I will fight strongly for that. I'm here to represent the people. Give them more voice in their government. And again, we went back to what we talked about it earlier. I'll be an open door to my constituents. I want to represent them. I want to fight for them. And referendums are a good way of our constituents having a say-so. It should not be government from the top down, special interests dominating things. That's what leads to corruption. Government for the people, by the people. That's what works best for our country. Those are the principles our country were founded on. So referendums go into that. I'm all for it.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond.
So in my contract, again, I address election integrity, and I say I will vote yes on common sense election security, accurate rolls, voter ID, chain of custody, safeguards, and transparency. And I will oppose changes that reduce confidence in fair elections. We need to be able to take care of the community. There's so many propositions that get placed before the community, and nobody votes. The first thing we have to do is inspire the people to get out there to vote and make money awareness from the state for these propositions that are being placed into the different cities, because these propositions affect you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond. Moving forward, Mr. Groves, you'll start with this one. There are limited options for public transportation in District 41. Do you believe there should be additional options? If so, what would you propose to help?
So, I think, you have to be careful with public spending on transportation. It should be dependent on how it's used. One of the things I love seeing right now is what Elon Musk is doing, and this is like, where private sector comes in with the self-driving autonomous cars. And I heard the other day at a sort of meeting, older people were concerned about not being able to drive. And this is where technology will come into play. So that would actually be a more intelligent way of public education, of transportation, because it meets a need. And I've seen where Elon has these little buses. So yeah, I think this is where technology is coming into play, and it can be very intelligent. And so I'm for using technology, reducing the cost by doing that. And so very intelligent public transportation using the technology that is coming.
Thank you, Ms. Hammond.
I think that the cities are already looking into increasing our public transportation for buses so that we can go from one county to another, or from here all the way to the island. They're looking at seeing what it is that they can do to have better support for the community and get people from one county, from Willacy or from Starr County, all the way to Hidalgo or Cameron County. And we need to start working with our cities and the people that are in place so that we can support that and bring better transportation, because we have a major need for better transportation. They're doing that silver bullet in the state of Texas, and they're not coming down to the valley. Well, how is that okay? Why are we not advocating and putting people in place to bring those things down for our communities? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you. So you must analyze the city centers. This area is different than downtown Houston. I get to court in downtown Houston. They have a light rail system there, up and down, north and south on Main Street, east and west on Franklin. I'm familiar with it there. That works for the downtown setting of Houston. That works. It doesn't exist here, and it shouldn't, in my opinion, because we're not set up that way. We are a driving community. Buses, vans, these things work. But I get to court in downtown Austin, and when I'm there, the Ubers, if you stay in the downtown area, are driverless cars, autonomous cars. As long as you stay in that area, obviously you're not going to get on the highway and get to the airport. It's a more traditional type of service. But to expand that, to study that, if you're going to stay in a certain region of the city with Uber, it makes sense to adopt and really just what's working in other communities and what would not work here. Clearly, subway system that we're going to dig tunnels is not going to work. Let's just be blunt. We're not New York City, and they were doing that 100 years ago, and we're not set up that way. That is clearly an urban area. We are a driving community. As you walk to the parking lot tonight, you will realize what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, I think this will be probably our last question before we get to closing statements. I'm looking at the time right now. So Ms. Hammond, this will be the last question. If state revenues decrease, would you vote to cut funding or raise taxes? If you choose to cut funding, which programs or projects would be affected?
Well, the first thing we're not going to do is raise taxes. definitely have to look at cutting funding, and we already are looking at cutting funding. We're looking at the programs, and I talked about funding and budgets from the start of my conversation. The budgets need to be reused to every single government agency. We need to look at where the surpluses are being misspent and put that money back into the government. There's a lot of programs out there that are giving free money or free employment money to people if they can only work 20 hours. I get people come into my office and say, can you sign this sheet? And I want to continue to get my unemployment. I'm like, you haven't even asked for a job. And they're like, well, I can only work 20 hours or they're going to cut all my benefits. People that can work should be able to be working, and we need to be providing and supporting those types of policies and looking at those budgets a lot better. And that's how we're going to be able to stop the bleed in the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
So respectfully, ma'am, I reject the premise of your question to give only two alternatives, that something must increase if something decreases. Well, funding and taxes, I understand the question, but there's one other component that you're not addressing, and that is you can raise more funding by lowering taxes. It generates an economic engine in the state. I'll give the example of the franchise tax. In 2024, there was a limit. The ceiling was $2.4 million. Any business that makes less than $2.4 million was exempt from paying the franchise tax. That tax is merely a tax for the permission of doing business in the great state of Texas. The next year, they increased that number to 2.65, so it included more businesses. Any business that makes less than 2.65 million didn't have to pay it at all. So what happened? Let's analyze the amount that was brought in. $7 billion was brought in the year 2024 when it was lower, and they increased the exemption, meaning more businesses paid zero. They increased it. The number doubled from 7 billion to what it is currently at 15 billion. So you can lower taxes and raise the pot. That is the point of what I'm getting at. So respectfully, I reject it that you must cut costs or that you must raise taxes, lower taxes, and get out of the way of business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Groves.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of smaller government. I'm a true Republican, and you know we do have a large surplus, and you know I'm for dosing Texas, eliminating wasteful spending, and we have a surplus. You know, thank you God for that. This state has a huge surplus. We have a rainy day fund, which I'm in favor of, to keep spending on a rainy day fund. And that is the answer, is if you have to do something, I'm for cutting costs. I will always be for cutting costs, less government. I'm a strong Republican, and so yes, but the way things are, if we manage our resources, our money intelligently, that should never be an option in this state. We have such a big surplus. And again, that is our money. That's not the government's money, it's our money, and it can go into a rainy day fund. I'm all for that, so that the scenario you're talking about doesn't ever happen. We can prevent it if we put some of that extra money aside for a rainy day. And that would be my solution to it. Let's use some of this surplus for a rainy day. Let's not just keep spending it.
Thank you, Mr. Groves. I'm going to go ahead and move on now to closing statements. A reminder for closing statements, you will each have 2 minutes to respond, and we're going to go by order of ballot. So Mr. Sanchez, you can go ahead and start.
Thank you. So the big issues that are facing this area, obviously property taxes. I have plans, concrete plans, not things that I'll vote for, but things that I will write into law, and I expect that they will be well received to the governor's desk and signed. That's one. Lowering taxes for small business is something that I'll be a champion for. Selfishly, I would say, I'll give myself as an example. If I had to pay zero on the franchise tax, I'm not gonna get a private jet. I don't make that kind of money. I'm not gonna get a huge ranch. I don't make that kind of money. But what I would do is hire another lawyer, and I would hire 2 more support staff. And then those people would end up getting mortgages. And this is how you build a community. And you do this in every city, for every small business throughout the state, and we all rise. This is a good thing. In addition, more money would be brought in. I give the example of lowering the franchise tax for those businesses. We doubled this surplus. I've studied the issue and I know how it doubled. We're all talking about this surplus. You must know the background of how you get there. So I also want to speak to some really great news that we received this past week regarding the Second Amendment, that I'll be a champion for our gun rights. I received the highest possible rating from the NRA Fund, the National Rifle Association Victory Fund, the highest possible ranking that you could get, an AQ rating. Nobody else in the field on either side, Republican or Democrat, even generated a grade. So I'm very proud of my background. It dovetails with my background in law enforcement as a prosecutor. It dovetails with that I'm receiving the support of federal, state, and local agencies jumping on board with this campaign. This is an organic campaign. I'm funding myself in this campaign. Ms. Hammond has received $100,000 from an out-of-area lobbying firm. I haven't, and I won't. I'm funding myself, and something I'm very proud of. I'm getting $20 donations. That's a real person, that's a mother, that's a vote, and that's a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Again, I would like to thank Futuro RGV and STC for hosting this forum. And I'd like to thank you, the audience, for your participation. Again, I've had a long history with the Hidalgo County GOP, the National GOP, and the Republican Party. I'm the only candidate up here who can say that. And so, like I've said, it's important you send a strong grassroots Republican to Austin, because that's what we need up there to get strong Republican legislation passed. I'm the only one who's voting GOP primaries as well, proving that I'm a strong Republican. I have a degree in economics, and I've been in the oil and gas business. I'm retired now. So I understand the energy part. That's going to be a big thing in our future. I understand it completely, and I'll be a champion for you in that. I'm a Christian who was pro-life, strongly pro-life. I'm pro-Second Amendment, very strongly so. I love our Texas gun laws. I'm for doging Texas. This is so important. Money's getting wasted. We all know it. You know, we've got to doge Texas. I'm for term limits. I'm here to serve. I'm not here for myself. I'm proudly a MAGA Republican who believes in government for the people, by the people. We love our country. We love you. I want to serve you. And to find out more about me, go to Gary Gross, GaryForTexas.com. GaryForTexas.com. Thank you.
I come from the kitchen table. I come from job sites. I come from balancing budgets. I come from board leadership. They said earlier that I mentioned that I hadn't voted before, and I said, when I got a phone call, my father was in front of me, and he heard the phone call where they were asking me to run, and I said, no, I'm not going to do this. And I hung up, and my dad looked at me, and he said, why aren't you running? And I said, because you raised us not to get involved in politics. You said politics divides our community. Why in the world would I step up to run? I'm here to serve my community. I'm not here to be a politician. And that's when he looked at me, and he said, I've seen what you've given. I've seen your heart. I've seen how hard you've worked to raise and uplift your community. And the world is already divided, and God is being taken out. You run, Mijita. You run, and you bring God back in. And you do what is right for your community. And that's when I stepped up. And when I did that, I went in front of one of the largest Republican PACs in the state of Texas. And they said to me, they brought me into this room, and they said, we're going to introduce you just to see what they think of you. When they walked in, they knew me by name. I walked up to them and I hugged them. Why? Because I have been advocating for over 9 years at the Capitol the Republican bills that help our community, that talk about insurance costs, that talk about medical, that talk about our veterans, that talk about property valuations. I've been doing this for over 9 years in my community for us. And they decided, when they saw me, they said, whatever she is selling, we are buying because we know who she is. And they decided to put the money behind me. And not just because they're trying to win and influence my vote, but because I've been there for my community, pushing and advocating for the right bills that support and strengthen us as one. I will bring what I have always brought to the table: faith, leadership. Fear makes for loud campaigns. Truth makes lasting leadership. My contract is on my website. Get to know me. Thank you.
Okay, once again, I want to thank our sponsors. I also want to thank the candidates for providing an informative debate. Finally, I want to thank our audience. Informed voting is essential to a thriving democracy. Don't forget, early voting takes place from Tuesday, February 17th through Friday, February 27th, and Election Day is Tuesday, March 3rd. Make your voices heard by voting. Thank you, and good night.
You did well. I'm gonna have to keep pushing. I'm not gonna stop. I gotta keep pushing her. I will.